Sitting down with Mayor Brandon Burley from Morden, looking back at 2022. We're looking ahead now into a new year on the heels of an election. Mayor Burley, talk to me a little bit about what the new council has planned for the upcoming year.
So 2023, a new council is going to be strongly focused on setting directions. So we're looking at strategic planning in early part of 2023, setting our priorities for not only 2023 budget, but beyond that. Two new members of council, both are very engaged and very active. And there's a transition period where facilitating their knowledge base and the growth of their awareness of what our municipal government's doing and what the community needs are is really an important part of bringing new councillors into an existing group. You always go back to the people you worked with for 4 years, and you've been on a school board. You know what that's like to lose people and bring new people in, and so losing councillors Hildebrand and Hunt. It's a transition, but councillors Lasnik and Friesen have fit into the mix pretty quick, and so this strategic planning and direction setting is going to be a really important part of it. I mean, what we've tried to do over the past 4 years isn't necessarily what we're going to continue to do, and so we need to understand what people in the room are wanting and what they believe their constituents want, and so strategic planning is going to be a significant part of 2023. We've been able to do some of that direction setting and planning over the last number of years. It's difficult to do without an awareness of your financial position, but we're in a very stable position now, and we're ready to go.
Wastewater has been definitely something that has held back a little bit of the growth in the community, as the need has definitely been here, and you've got some things that are holding that back. Maybe you want to talk about how you're addressing that as a council and what that looks like moving forward.
In 2020, the province of Manitoba made us go back to the drawing board on design and selection, and so we did a third-party review on the design work we had already completed, and the decision was at that point we couldn't proceed, and so it sent us back to the drawing board with respect to design and selection, and gave us the opportunity to really engage and understand what we needed and understand what was available to us. It was a good exercise. We were able to manage lagoon capacity effectively enough in 2020 or in 2020 till now that we weren't hampering development, but we have a definite wall coming to us in the near future. So we've done the work. 2022 saw us exploring 3 different options, and because we knew we were working with a deadline, we had to keep all of our options on the table, and so we were doing a multi-track approach to design and selection, knowing that one of those would succeed. And so the community will have seen a number of different investigations occurring around different technologies and methods for treating wastewater, and it has led to ample speculation in the community about our direction, but reality is we had to keep all of those on the table. We have a definite deadline of March 31st to supply of this coming year to proceed, and so in January council meeting we're intending to make a decision and finally pull the trigger on something, right? And so January we will be proceeding in 2023 with wastewater selection, and then of course over the next year to 2 years you'll see construction and completion of that wastewater treatment program.
Everyone breathes a bit of a sigh of relief on that one. In 2022 you purchased some land for industrial use south of Morden, and talk to me a little bit about what kind of plans you have moving forward for the economy and for that land.
In 2022, several large industrial agreements were made that saw us largely run out of industrial land, and so we've been the industrial land that we have, the industrial park, was purchased the year I was born in 1982, and we're sold out now. So Morden Community Development Corporation purchased 150 acres of land south of Wilcox Road for potential industrial development. A significant portion of it is pre-committed, and so there's rapid industrial growth that's expected in that area, and you know, not just there but also along the highway east and west of the city of Morden. So in terms of economic prospect, I think we're looking very good and sitting pretty. We just need to make sure that our economy can transition effectively away from a labor-based market into a specialization market as we emerge. But right now, I think we're doing very, very good in terms of our ability to provide jobs to the market, and not just that, but also supply labor to those employers. And that really has been one of the advantages we've had, in particularly through the Morden community-driven immigration initiative, is we have that economic advantage of being able to supply labor on an as-needed basis, and even specialized skills. And so that's been something that not only MCDC but our economic development officer and myself have been trying to key on with employers and businesses across Canada is we can supply solutions to their greatest challenge, which is effective sourcing of labor.
Affordable housing was one of the hot topics at the election all candidates forum. I think it was the topic that had the most questions. Kind of touched on it in your looking back. Looking ahead, what does that look like with wastewater looking like it's going to be moving forward at some point? What is the timelines on being able to provide more growth through development?
So the City of Morden right now has the ability to approve between 300 and 400 new housing units. We've been providing about 100 a year to the market, and that's the pace at which it's been being supplied. So we're looking at an anticipated window of 3 years before we really reach a bottleneck. We anticipate that our wastewater solution will be delivered in advance of that by quite a bit. So I don't think there's a scenario as we see it right now where we're actually capped again. But certainly if we get to that point, we will have a significant problem on our hands in terms of housing and ability to provide. Right now we're looking at market conditions as one of the key problems in being able to provide affordable housing, and in particular right now as interest rates rise and the market has to adjust for that. At the end of the day, there's only so many dollars that households can commit to housing, and their ability to pay what was last year's market price and continue to pay interest on that is going to be affected. And so I expect you'll see a price decline over the next 6 months, perhaps, on housing prices as the market adjusts to the reality of having to pay those high interest rates. And so that's something we're paying close attention to as a city, and looking certainly at ways that we can help the market adjust to those realities, but also seeing if there's ways, either through the Rapid Housing Initiative or programs run by CMHC or the province, that we can help families get into housing that is affordable and suitable.
We talk a lot about infrastructure, and we talk a lot about the things that we economically need to be doing to make this community a better and a great place to live. But there's a lot of those soft pieces that I know is deep in your heart when we talk sometimes off mic about things. Do you want to share a little bit about what your heart is as you start another 4-year term for the community, outside of some of those, and maybe including some of those things that you see moving forward as you go into a strategic planning with your council?
Communities are only as strong as their weakest member, and communities need to be there for the people who are struggling, and communities that are only there for those who succeed and those who can pull up their socks and do the best by themselves at all times, those aren't real communities. And I think what I want to see for this community is a place that is welcoming and accepting of people of all walks of life, of all income levels, of all ability to succeed, whether it be mentally, emotionally, financially. That's what a real community is. And so if we say we're good for the economy, but we're not good for the finances of those who are in need, we're not really good at the economy. And so ensuring that we keep everybody in our view and are good for all members of our community, regardless of their income level or stature in the community. That's what good councils do, and that's what good communities do. And I think we've seen through 500 Stevens Street and the work that's been done there, the work with our Ukrainian refugees, seeing the people who come and lend their support, even though they don't have the greatest advantages in the world, economically or in terms of stature, to see the people who historically I would have viewed as people in need or people who need to be helped. coming to the rescue of those who are less fortunate. That's pretty amazing. But that's going to be the goal, is creating a genuine community where people of all walks of life are brought together and find their commonality in our community. So that to me is something that I think we need to continue to invest in and find ways to resource. A lot of that begins with spaces and programming, and so I'm excited to see what things like 500 Stephen Street and Nicole Fair can get done in that community mobilization role, because the alternative is you either support your economy or your community, or you're going to fight your community. And if we don't support everybody in our community, we'll end up with higher crime levels. We're going to end up with childhood poverty. We're going to end up with disparities in educational levels, all manner of things. And so being able to support our entire community is certainly a goal and a vision that I believe council needs to embrace.